Hello there, everybody. And today I am here to review my number one movie of 2024. That being Deadpool and Wolverine. So, this came out around the summertime, and I saw it with a friend. If you saw our little reaction to the movie all the way back, and I gotta say, this is easily one of my favorite Marvel movies of all time. Is it my top? No, but it's definitely on probably the top 10 list for MCU movies, in my opinion. And I don't know if we really call this an MCU movie since we don't see any of the MCU characters other than the TVA. But this is part of the MCU, and this is the first rated R MCU movie. And it's shocking, but not really surprising. I don't know why I'm phrasing like that, but basically Ryan Reynolds finally got to do the third Deadpool movie, but he couldn't do this alone. No, he got to do it with the amazing Hugh Jackman returning as Wolverine. So he announced his retirement all the way back in 2017, ever since he had his beautiful conclusion with Logan. So I'm wondering, how are they going to bring back Wolverine? The trailers didn't show much other than little hints at first in the teaser. But then when we saw the movie itself, we kind of just knew what was coming. It is a different variation of Wolverine because it feels like the only actor that can play Wolverine is Hugh Jackman. But what is this movie about? It's basically where Deadpool is recruited by the TVA to basically either join them or save his world by recruiting another Wolverine. Because Wolverine is dead from Logan, and because of that, his world, Deadpool's world, is dying because it's called an anchor being. It's a bit confusing, but this is a new concept explored in the TVA. Ever since we saw in Loki Season 2, there's a bunch of time variants. Basically, the TVA is basically outside of space and time, and because of Loki Season 2, the TVA was built back together, back to normal, and it's basically outside of the MCU's main timeline. But once Deadpool is recruited, he's basically able to witness all that has happened in Marvel. He witnesses the Avengers, Captain America. He sees his various idols. But before that, Wayne was basically kind of living an okay life. He has a job. He is not on good terms with Vanessa, but he's still friends with her, and he's still somewhat connected, but he feels he just isn't getting out there all that much anymore since Deadpool 2. But once he's recruited by the TVA, everything changes. They even rip off his wig on his little anniversary party where all of Deadpool's friends are there. My one issue with this movie is, like, I wish Deadpool's friends were in the movie a lot more. They kind of just felt like side characters. I mean, they are side characters, but they're kind of just pushed to the side, if I want to put it like that, because they don't have much of a role, because the movie is mainly focusing on Wade, which makes sense. But basically Deadpool refers to himself as Marvel Jesus, which is hilarious term. But he even is given a new costume. But once he learns of what the TVA is up to, basically letting his world die so they can continue to let other worlds die. But apparently Deadpool is going to try to recruit another Wolverine to stop from his world from dying. So he tries to go to various multiverses. He tries to go to a world where we see a comic accurate looking Logan, which, if you don't know, in the comic books, Logan's actually pretty short in height in the comic books. But even Deadpool makes fun of that fact. We also see, like, Deadpool in one of his comic appearances where he has, like, He looks more like an assassin. I even have his action figure. We even see like a crucified Logan, which is a reference to a comic book cover. We even see Hugh Jackman in the amazing yellow and brown suit, and he fights the Hulk. We get a nice cameo of Angry Hulk, which we have not seen in a while. And even Deadpool says, "I am Marvel Jesus," but he gets smashed by the Hulk. But as he's going through these various versions, he ends up finding the worst Wolverine. This is the one that we meet up with. But I forgot to mention the amazing opening fight sequence where Deadpool tries to dig up the corpse of Logan, but because he's been dead for so long, he's basically just a skeleton. But Deadpool's able to use his skeleton to take out the TVA, and we hear the song "Bye Bye Bye," which was used in the X-Men 2. But some people, certain YouTubers, think this is ruining Logan's death. I don't think it is. Because literally, why else would they bring Hugh Jackman back for this movie? They do not want to retcon Logan's death at all. You can watch Logan just fine. And honestly, you don't even have to watch Deadpool and Wolverine. But whatever it is, you're entitled to your opinion, people. But once Deadpool does take out the TVA, that's where he recruits all these Wolverines. But once he does find the worst Wolverine, it turns out he views himself as a failure. And we find out a little bit about his backstory later in the movie. But basically, when Deadpool does take Logan to the TVA, they basically reject him. And the two then get sent to a mysterious area in the TVA. That being the Void. So this is a new area in Marvel. This is basically where all the characters of the dead franchises that we don't see anymore in the Marvel movies, they basically just get sent there to die. And basically a bunch of movies are now canon to the MCU timeline. But I'll get more into that later. But Deadpool and Wolverine decided to have the fight that we've been waiting for. Basically, they pull out their swords, claws, guns, and the two fight. And Logan drops the "let's fucking do this," which is a good line from Hugh Jackman. And the two fight for a while. We even see like the 20th Century Fox logo. But it's all interrupted by a mysterious figure who is revealed to be Chris Evans, but not as Captain America. No. He is the Human Torch. It was so cool to see Chris Evans return in the MCU. I don't know if he's going to be in Avengers 5 and 6. We'll just have to wait and see. But apparently they are also encountered by a bunch of like Mad Max looking villains. This is what vibe I get from The Void. Basically we see Pyro return all the way back from X-Men 2. And we also see a bunch of other villains from the Marvel Fox universe. But he's able to take out Human Torch because they both have fire powers. But it leads to Deadpool and Logan getting captured. And they're going to be taken to the main villain of this movie, Cassandra Nova, who is basically Charles Xavier's sister. But once they're all taken to the main area, we see like a giant skeleton of suit of like Ant-Man, and even like Deadpool makes the joke of, "Ooh, Paul Rudd finally aged." But while this is all going on, a giant cloud that is heading towards them is about to hit them. But Cassandra does reveal her abilities. She is able to survive stab wounds, gunshots, once Logan and Deadpool try to take her out. But we don't know exactly what her plan is yet. We see a bunch of other cameos. We see Juggernaut, Azazel from X-Men First Class. I think we see Toad. We even see Sabretooth. But not Leaf Scheider, the different one from the X-Men 1. The continuity is confusing. But that's X-Men for you. But the most wild part of this is Human Torch actually dies. He gets his skin ripped off. And it's just like, ooh. And he actually dies. We don't even know what happened to the rest of the Fantastic Four. We do get mentions of Reed. We honestly don't know. But they honestly could have died in the void. But apparently Cassandra is so powerful it causes Deadpool and Wolverine to flee the scene. But we mainly see a dynamic between the two as things go on for a while. But they end up getting stranded in the middle of the void. But they're recruited by Nice Pool, who's played by Ryan Reynolds, who's basically a nice version of Deadpool. And we also see the infamous Deadpool dog. So Deadpool dog looks so adorable. He has a wild tongue for some reason. But I don't know if it's like that for the dog in real life. But he definitely looks like a good boy. And even Wade is jealous that he wants the dog for himself. But a Nice Pool won't let him. But apparently he's supposed to help them out. So he gives them a car to basically try to find the other people who are trapped in the void. But it causes a lot of irritation between Wade and Logan. They basically argue a lot. Well, it's not really Wayne, but Logan. He gets more and more annoyed with Wade, even when they try to sit down at a bar, at an abandoned one. But once Wade reveals that he did not really have a plan for what's going on, he causes Logan to snap. And he actually takes a jab at Wade, where he basically tells him, no wonder you were not recruited by the Avengers. He basically calls him immature and impulsive. He even asked if he was on ADHD. But earlier in the movie, Wade actually tried to be recruited by Happy Hogan, who gets a cameo in this movie. And he tries to become an Avenger, but he's denied because Wade's a little too self-centered. But once Logan says all these insults, it causes Deadpool to actually stay silent. And he even says, oh, you're not going to say anything, mouth? But it causes the two to fight in the car. And we get this infamous scene. We even get references to Hugh Jackman's The Greatest Showman, another great movie that Hugh Jackman's done. We even hear his music. But we hear the song from Grease. And it causes the two to fight. And eventually the whole car is covered in blood. And the two pass out from nonstop fighting. But eventually they are rescued by an unknown figure. But the major thing in this movie that's definitely fan service, but I love it, where we finally see a bunch of cameos that we've been wondering if we're ever going to see again. We see Jennifer Gardner's Elektra, Wesley Snipes as Blade, Channing Tatum as Gambit, and I'm looking at the cast list. Devon Keane as Laura, who played X-23. We see a bunch of these cameos. Basically, this is like this. They've been trapped in the void for years, and they're trying to find their way out. So Deadpool decides to gather them all together to basically find a way to get Juggernaut's helmet so they can stop Cassandra's mind powers. And she's able to even use her hands to go into people's minds, which is wild. But they're even able to prey at their insecurities. But apparently these cameos are insane in my opinion. I never thought Wesley Snipes would ever come back as Blade. It's wild we're seeing him return as Blade, and the MCU hasn't even bothered to show what Blade looks like in that world. But Jennifer Gardner as Elektra was awesome to see. And Channing Tatum unfortunately never got to play Gambit. in his own solo movie, but he finally gets to play Gambit and even acknowledges that he never really got to have a role in his world. But Laura, I think this is the same one from Logan. Apparently she's been in the void, and apparently they all been captured by the TVA. But one of the best scenes is probably where Logan has a talk with Laura where he feels he is the worst Wolverine still, and Laura actually tries to give him confidence that he is not the worst. But once our characters do go to the main area Cassandra's at, we get a bunch of fun scenes. Blade pulls out a bazooka and shoots down the gateway, and all our characters swoop out of the car, surrounded by the Fox villains, and basically it leads to a gigantic fight where our characters are having their stance against all the villains. But Logan and Wade try to go handle Cassandra, but this is where we do find out why Logan is so depressed. He apparently lost it, and he killed all the X-Men. And because of this, he now just wears his yellow and blue costume, which he finally wears since, Hugh Jackman's never wore the iconic Wolverine costume. There was a little hint at it in a deleted scene in the Wolverine, but he's never worn the costume. But apparently this wakes Logan up once Deadpool gets in the way. He's able to finally put the Juggernaut helmet while everyone else is fighting outside still. But a bunch of cool actions happening, but Pyro ends up coming in the way. He ends up shooting Cassandra, and she actually almost dies until Pyro's killed, and then Logan says, "Ooh, not everyone gets a happy ending." But unfortunately, they have to let Cassandra go so they can find their way out. But apparently Cassandra has a sling ring, and she's able to open a wormhole for the two to escape. And we get this nice slow motion of Logan and Wade jumping through the portal, and they're able to return back to Earth, the main timeline Earth for the X-Men. But apparently what's also been following them is a bunch of variants of Deadpool that Cassandra sent, and we find out what she actually wants to do. She basically wants to take over the entire multiverse through the TVA and basically become a god. But this is going to be no match for Wade and Logan, as they're going to finally take their stance at the Deadpool army, the corps of Deadpool. But apparently we get a bunch of cool Deadpool variants. We see a cowboy Deadpool. We see a skull Deadpool, Deadpool Kid. We even see a lady Deadpool, which people thought it was going to be Taylor Swift as Deadpool, but it's not. But this all leads to Nicepool to finally show up again with Dogpool. But apparently Wade is so pissed that he's not able to have Dogpool, he basically sacrifices Nicepool, and it turns out he doesn't even have regenerative abilities. And he causes Nicepool to basically get shot to death by the Deadpools. But even Wolverine says, like, "Oh, you didn't know that?" But basically it leads to our characters slow motion, and we see Living Like a Prayer, I'm pretty sure. Wait, no, not that song. Like a Prayer or whatever it's called. But we get this awesome scene that I always love watching. Logan finally puts on the iconic Wolverine mask. And even Deadpool's like, "Oh, it finally took you that long?" But they pull out their claws and swords, and they basically just slaughter the hell out of these Deadpool variants. And it's just insane. It's a very badass scene. We even see them jump through the bus when they go into a bus to take out the Deadpools. And it's basically just a giant bloodbath. And it's the scene we've been wanting to see. Deadpool with the white eyes and claws just full on badassery. But they are basically, it's already too late, as Cassandra is basically found the machine she's looking for that's basically going to take out the multiverse. But the only way they can do it is with a regenerative ability person. But the dude from the TVA basically tells them that after they meet up again. But apparently this is the only way they can save the multiverse, is if one sacrifices himself. But I forgot to mention also we see Peter W. return, as apparently every variant of Peter is in every Deadpool world, which is a nice way of saying Peter W. is awesome. But once Deadpool decides to have that little serious talk with Logan, he basically tells him that he's not the worst Wolverine. And even Logan starts to show a little bit of compassion for Deadpool, saying, hey, you got a world that you got to go back to. But it leads to Deadpool making the sacrifice for no reason, saying, I'm Marvel Jesus. And he basically is going to try to stop the multiverse from dying in Underworld. But Logan's able to go there as well. And the two end up actually holding hands. And they're able to touch the two generators once Logan turns on his claws. And Logan's shirt gets immediately removed. And it is so badass. But Cassandra is basically draining herself of too much power, and she basically dies. But we almost thought Logan and Wolverine were going to die. Because of plot armor, they survive. But they were all wondering, the agents of TVA were basically wondering, how did you survive? He's like, well, it took two, the regenerative people, to survive. And yeah, the day is saved. The Wolverine and Deadpool save the multiverse and their world. They finally reunite with all their friends. Deadpool even gets on good terms with Vanessa. And even Logan decides to hang out with Deadpool and Laura. And Deadpool learns that he can still have purpose with the people around him who he loves, and even find new friends. Especially since now Deadpool can keep Deadpool Dog, which is adorable. But the movie ends, and even ends on a post-credits scene with Deadpool explaining why he did not cause the death of Human Torch. But that's Deadpool and Wolverine. I did a long breakdown of this movie. But this movie was amazing. It was sad that it was the only MCU movie that came out, but that's probably a good thing, because the MCU is learning from their mistakes. Because some people aren't enjoying the MCU, and that's okay. But whatever the MCU does, I'm always down to keep on watching these movies. And I hope Wade and Wolverine, Deadpool and Wolverine, finally return in Avengers 5 and 6. But Secret Wars is probably going to be the bigger movie than Doomsday. But the best thing about this movie was the chemistry between Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. Their chemistry was just perfect for each other. I just love how in the preview for this movie, before the movie came out, Ryan Reynolds basically said, hey, you want to return as Wolverine? And he's like, yeah, sure, Ryan. But it is so amazing Hugh Jackman finally came back as Wolverine. Even Patrick Stewart returned as Charles Xavier in the Doctor Strange, and he's returning for Avengers Doomsday. But I'm really curious what the future of Marvel is going to be because of this movie. I give this movie probably a 9 out of 10. But that ends my 2024 movie reviews. It was a big thing to review all these movies once a week. It's definitely a lot, for sure. But this movie ended off with a bang, with great action, comedy, just great heart towards it, and even Deadpool Dog made it fun, worthwhile for this movie. So, yeah, I don't think I got anything else to say about Deadpool and Wolverine. But the next movie reviews, I'm going to try to review some random movies I've had ideas for reviewing for a while. So, yeah, with that being said, thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time.